financial mirror off the wall. One of the most interesting subjects in the Cyprus economy is shipping. Shipping has been the driving force of the Cyprus economy because it has been stable, a regular and strong contributor to growth, a major employer, and also at the forefront, being one of the leading shipping nations in the world and a leading flag in the world, and particularly in Europe, at the forefront of regulations and many other issues to help evolve the shipping community in the maritime world even further. With us today is a very special person, Kazakos. For 3 decades, he has been at the head of the Cyprus Shipping Chamber, which basically is the single most important organization or body that has helped push the Cyprus flag further. As we said, be it regulation, anything new. We've seen a lot of changes in the past 3 decades. We'll discuss that with Thomas. But now also because he's moving, he's taken one hat off and he's putting another hat, moving from Limassol to London and leaving the Cyprus Shipping Chamber after so many years and cultivating this baby to the International Chamber of Shipping, which is a great honor, not only for Cyprus, but Cyprus shipping in general. Thoma, welcome.
Thank you, Massis.
And even though it might sound a little bit awkward, we wish you best of luck and bon voyage.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for the invitation as well as for the introduction. I think it's fair to say that the fact that the Cypriot now has been asked to take the lead of the Secretary of the International Chamber of Shipping, which represents 40 national shipbuilding associations around the globe from all continents, if you like. For me, it's a pure reflection of the infrastructure that has been built, as you mentioned, in Cyprus, at least for the last 33 years that I've been around, and I'm sure before that.
Yeah.
And it shows that Cyprus has developed the knowledge, the expertise when it comes to shipping in order to be trusted to receive this honor, which for me personally is a great honor, to lead the leading organization when it comes to shipping, when it comes to representing ship owners around the globe, primarily at the international intergovernmental organizations such as the International Maritime Organization, short for IMO in London, dealing with safety, security certification of seafarers as well as ships, of course, for safety, but also in other organizations such as the International Labour Organization, dealing with labor issues for maritime industry. So it is an honor for me, but mostly it's a recognition for our country, and it goes towards contributing, if you like, for the raising of the credibility of our country abroad. If you consider that shipping is going through a major reform phase the last few years and the next few years, I think it's important that the International Chamber of Shipping remains the vocal, the most, let's say, recognizable body for international shipping on the private sector, in order to make sure that shipping remains, as you rightly put it at your introduction, the driving force of world trade. 90% of the world trade is carried by sea. Shipping is still the safest mode of transport, the cheapest, as well as, if you like, the least polluting when it comes to the transport industry at large. And with these great numbers of 89.7, 90% of the world trade. Yeah. And if we think about it from the Cyprus perspective, Cyprus is an island. The 90% is not 90, it's 94, 96, 98% of all imports and exports. So, and we've lived through some very challenging times during COVID period, where we all realized a little bit more as to the importance of having the supply chain uninterrupted. Yeah. And we all went through the human isolation, that we realized that everything we use, everything we need, both as persons as well as businesses, mostly that carried to our houses by ship.
Yes, yes. Well, you mentioned COVID because COVID was an important time in the recent Cyprus shipping scene, but we've also had some other challenges as well. I remember way back when Cyprus was building up its reputation as a sturdy shipping flag with so many issues in the past, the quality of vessels, keeping them up to standards, safety, modernizing vessels, so you wouldn't have a 60-year-old ship, but a lot of the fleets under the Cyprus flag or Cyprus managed, they might not be Cyprus flag, but there might be the ship management companies
operated from Cyprus.
Yeah. So all these are new modern fleets. So COVID was a major challenge because it also helped us realize, not just you in the shipping industry, you've always been at the forefront, but everybody in general realized that there's also another category of workers, such as the seafarers. A lot of the times, yes, you don't see them because they're all on the ship. So you don't see them, you don't realize that there's several tens of thousands of people employed on Cyprus ships alone. So that was a very important development.
These are the unseen heroes, we say, in the industry.
Yes.
Our seafarers is the most vital asset of our industry because without them, nothing can operate. In the shipping world, we have this saying that if the whole world fleet, let's say 80,000 ocean-going vessels, stop operating from 3 working days, half the world will starve to death and half will freeze, depending, of course, on the national reserves.
Yes.
And again, coming back to our country, we don't have so many national reserves that we can remain independent or unaffected. So for us, I know I've been paid to say these things, but I've lived through this exercise and I know it's true that we heavily depend on our shipping industry to remain unobstructed in order to carry out its primary function, servicing the world trade. And it's true that shipping is the lifeblood of world trade, and world trade by that is the basic ingredient for world economy, and by extension, at the end of the day, is society. So it's industry, economy, society. That's the way we as Cyprus Shipping Chamber, well, I should stop saying we, the Cyprus Shipping Chamber, I stopped working for them a week or so ago. But this is the mode of operation. First, for a sustainable, reputable industry, in order to be operating under the highest standards, to be able to contribute to the economy of the island and will not causing any problems. And at the end of the day, if the first two, sustainable industry and stable economy, then we will be able as reputable maritime employers to contribute back to society. And since you mentioned about the reputation of our industry, the last few days has been sort of a trip down the memory lane. I'm the living proof of the commitment of the private sector in shipping to raising standards. I was employed on the 1st of April, showing age now, 1992, with a sole project to be the watchdog and the bully, within inverted commas, at the then Department of Merchant Shipping, which was based still is in Limassol, to ratify 11 important maritime conventions and another 20 or so recommendations. So the private sector was paying a lawyer, let's say a young lawyer, to push. My job was to go every day at the government department. I spent the first couple of months not going to the office, but going to the government office. And I don't know of any other industry.
At the time when even lobbying was unheard of.
Exactly. And this is how the industry showed from the early stage that they believe very strongly in high operational standards, marine environment protection, because at the end of the day, it makes financial sense.
Yes. Well, everything makes financial sense, including what you mentioned, marine environment. But emissions is very important. We'll come back to the future of what lies ahead for shipping in general. But again, going back, emissions, as I said, was part of the wave going up and down. Seafarers, so the workforce on board shipping. Safety and security was an issue. an important issue. I remember at some stage we had a lot of piracy. Then we had the situation of Somalia with vessels being kidnapped, Red Sea nowadays. But you also have safety issues where people have to keep up their standards. Has Cyprus, do you believe, met all these challenges well in the past 30 years?
Yeah.
I mean, from where it was 30 years ago, I would say we've leapt ahead. We haven't jumped ahead. We've leapt ahead on many issues.
Yes. When it comes to the basic operational standards, whether it be safety, security, marine environment protection, yes, Cyprus, successive governments of Cyprus and all the political parties, if there is one thing, I would humbly say that we have managed as an association to create, first of all, within our member companies is the element of trust. The word trust for us has been our motto, in the sense that, first of all, the shipping companies before 36 years ago when the chamber was established, there were individual companies going about their own ways and without having an orchestrated collective voice.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
And that was the situation then. So over the years, we built a trust that they believe that this association, the Trade Association for Shipping Industry in Cyprus, is the spokesperson, is the spokes voice, the professional one. So, and then we created the trust between the decision makers of Cyprus, whether that's the government, whether that's the political parties in parliament. And I have to admit, and if I may jump the gun a bit and bring to our discussion the creation of the first, they call it deputy ministry. For us, it's a single theme super ministry because it deals only with one thing, not even ports, just shipping. This was the brainchild of the lobbying efforts of our association. It took us 7.5 years of lobbying. But what it showed is that when you pass through parliament unanimously from 7 political parties, one of the most, in my humble opinion, most important upgrade of the civil service infrastructure, which has been outdated since the 60s. It shows that the message that goes outside of Cyprus when it comes to attracting more quality ship owners, managers, and shipping-related companies in Cyprus is that the state of Cyprus unanimously supports the growth of this industry because, as you said again in your introduction, it's a steady. When I first started, they used to call us the unknown financial giant of Cyprus. Now they call us a traditional industry. Which for me, it's a good thing in the sense that we're showing our age again, but still shows that we progress positively. So yes, the long answer to your question is that Cyprus has built the infrastructure when it comes to legislative measures. Otherwise, Big EU Mama would not have allowed Cyprus to finish first of the 10 acceding EU member states in 2004. We finished the chapter of negotiation in 2002, first amongst the other 9 member states. And since then, when it comes to ratification of international and European standards, yes, Cyprus is right there on the very best. Cyprus as a flag now is considered for many years since joining EU as on the top of the quality when it comes. This is okay. We are doing very well, actually. And credit to all governments, but especially to our colleagues. I call it my ministry, our minister, our permanent secretary, because this is how we would like them to receive us as their partners, not the pain in the backside. I know I used to get paid to be the lobbyist on behalf of the association, but still, we work extremely well together when it comes to the accession of the EU, the negotiation of a specialized shipping taxation system, which has been so successful in a sense
pioneering.
And keeping the resident shipping industry in Cyprus despite financial banking crisis, COVID, you name it, we went all through them and they're still here. And none of them has actually left.
Well, not only have they not left,
and they have increased their presence.
We've seen as I mentioned before, ship management is a very important field because it's not just ship owning, it's also, it might be under a different flag, but at least it's managed in Cyprus.
But we do have ships and managed under Cyprus, but the important thing is to have the strength of our industry, Masis. Is not, when we say 7% of the GDP, for me it's definitely undervalued because
I think it's much more than that.
I know, because we never had actually from the state a proper assessment of the
to calculate
but
contribution
even
to
if
GDP,
it's still 7%, when I compare with other equally developed maritime nations, The highest number I've heard was Singapore 7.5, Denmark 7.1, Greece on the good years. The rest of them vary from 1% to 3 to 4%.
Yes.
So even if we take it by comparison, we are up there with the very best when it comes to giving back to the state.
Yes.
So, and don't forget, shipping is the longest serving foreign direct investment in Cyprus, is the perhaps the most globalized industry we have, which competes up there with the very best, with the largest companies in the world, especially in the ship management side, since you mentioned them. We have the biggest third-party ship management center in Europe, perhaps the third largest in the world.
Yes.
We have companies that have their headquarters in Cyprus.
Yes.
And they have not been here a year or two. They're here since the early 70s.
Exactly. I was going to say that from the 70s, when Cyprus had to make the shift to the services sector and not rely only on tourism, that is when shipping came in. At the time, it was the first wave of tax legislation and the tax breaks that were given to ship-owning companies, registration of ships, so many things that have developed.
But since then, though, we have to remind our viewers that Cyprus shipping is fully approved by the EU. The highest critic of standards these days when it comes especially to taxation is EU.
Yes.
We have our specialized system approved first in 2010 and again reapproved for another 10 years in 2019.
Yes.
And this shows stability and long-term planning for investment and reinvestment in our country.
Yes. Well, one minor issue that will, I believe personally, that will also contribute is the development of the academic side of shipping. All this time, Cyprus was only producing ship finance or ship law graduates. Now we actually have cadets, completely. We have engineers.
Yes.
Going back to, I would say, the 1970s, when again Cyprus was a pioneer at the time with the HTI, where several people graduated from there, and they got jobs immediately.
Those graduates have been my mentors,
yes,
and many others like me, and now those of them that are still active,
yes,
they are the top management of our shipping companies in Cyprus, all Cypriots.
That's excellent. Thoma, we're looking ahead now. We've seen, as I said, a lot of issues in the past. What lies ahead for the shipping industry in general? Is it modernization, emissions, automation, electrification? We're even talking about green ships. There's so much technology coming in. You're going to have a handful to deal with, not just on the lobbying side, but I mean to keep up to date on a global scale.
Okay, shipping is
how will you manage?
Collective effort and building up of facts and figures to convince those who take decision for us that shipping is a vital industry for the human mankind.
Yes.
And let me explain that. I might sound dramatic, but again, if you just close your eyes and think whatever you're wearing, whatever you're using, whatever it's all carried to you by ships.
Yes.
Then close your eyes and think one day without ships. Now, let's put that aside. But what are the current main issues for international shipping? Although I haven't yet started my new position, I've been in the industry for so many years, I think we know what are the current primary issue for the last 10 years, I will say, if not more, has been the green transition of shipping to even, although we produce very little when it comes to the volume of cargo that we carry and passengers, if you like, still, as I said, we want to become even more green. For us, the motto "blue is the new green."
Yes,
blue being our color.
Yes,
and if we realize that the biggest operation expense of a shipping company are the fuels, 35%, give and take. Then you realize it's again for the financial benefit of our industry to become even less energy consuming.
Yes.
So for many years, the International Chamber of Shipping and National Shipbuilders Association around the world, we've been trying to convince those who take decisions that we are all committed to become, if at all possible, the soonest possible, zero emissions.
Yes.
And this we even self-volunteer years ago now at IMO and the discussions are coming to fruition hopefully within the next couple of weeks at the IMO, at least the next stage, whereby IMO will set the the way that it will move to the next step of becoming, to meeting the targets of 2030, 2050. But the point is that we have to realize that shipping is not, the shipping industry do not produce engines, do not produce green fuels. So we even volunteer to pay a self-taxation, a self-levy, if you like, we're talking billions, in order to devote more money to research and development, to expedite the ongoing, for many years now, various types of alternative fuels, as well as, of course, engines that can receive these new fuels, and to be available worldwide, because there's no point of producing a green type of fuel and it's only available in Europe.
Exactly.
So the first issue,
because ships go all over the place.
Exactly, so the first issue for us has been and will be the full circle of shipping becoming less energy consuming and as soon as possible to become zero emission. Second issue, of course, being a truly globalized industry, is the issue of protectionism.
Yes.
Whether these measures come from individual countries or group of countries. And let us remember, shipping is a truly globalized industry.
Yes.
Any effort to deregulate this international side of shipping is not going to help in the medium to long term, both the country that imposes it or even the global trade.
Yes.
Instead, we should all be working closely together to find viable, long-standing rules and regulations that will allow shipping to become even more sustainable. We've experienced that, as we said before, during COVID.
Yes.
We've experienced that with the energy crisis within at least Europe due to the situation in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So we have to appreciate that shipping is a vital industry for our day-to-day life and operations. So first issue is green transition. Second is the protectionism, that unilateral actions, whether it's in the form of tariffs or in the form of applying different national regulations when it comes to the running of ships or manning of seafarers or people ashore. And then, of course, other issues that affect us, of course, is the complete use of technology when it comes to digitalization. And now the issue of fully automated ships is something to be remained. But these are the main three issues. Together, always, of course, we're making sure that the living and working conditions of our biggest asset, which is our seafarers, remains as workable and in a way that it will allow to attract youngsters to our industry. Because with all these new regulations coming in, we need a massive investment when it comes to, first of all, to produce the engines, the ships, and change the current fleet, but also retrain the people who run the ships. Because they have not been trained, and they're highly educated, highly skilled, but trained and educated under the different type of engines and fuels, and we'll need to make sure that we keep up with that.
Yes. Well, the other, I would say, issue where the shipping industry has been at the forefront is not just emissions, quite rightly, because I remember up to 2-3 years ago, the shipping community and the maritime clusters around the world, not only in Cyprus, they were talking about emissions in the 2030, 2050 targets, when everybody was still talking about relaxations to eventually meet those targets. However, shipping was also at the forefront as regards finance and payments. Shipping companies, quietly, a lot of them have adopted blockchain, for example. So you're using artificial intelligence, you're using new technologies, you're using advanced telecom, so many other services, be it satellite or whatever, to allow ships to run more efficiently. So at the end of the day, investing is worth your while.
Definitely, and this is what I said before, that going through this major revolutionary period of the green transition, it will inevitably involve huge investment when it comes to financing this.
Yes.
Because if we just bear in mind that one ship can cost from $10 million to $1 billion without cargo on board.
Yes.
Then you realize when we're talking about 80,000, because they're not all the same size, but we're talking about a very high value asset industry that needs to remain in tune with environmental regulations, safety, security, and as you said, technology.
Yes.
And this is a constant evolution that shipping is at the forefront, I will say, of all these needs to be catching up in order to remain sustainable, profitable, and useful.
Yes, yes. Well, on a personal note, Thomas, I remember the past decades, you've always been traveling. Well, relatively speaking, a couple of days a month, sometimes a couple of weeks a month. What's your new schedule going to be like?
Compare what I used to do 10 times more.
Yes.
Simply because the International Chamber of Shipping represents just the members, 40 national shipping association. And like a good host, you have to listen to the needs of your guests, of your members. On top of that, we have two regional organizations. One is the European Community Ship Owners Association, short for EXA, in Brussels. And the other one is the Asian Ship Owners Association in the Far East. And that is, of course, if you add all the branches of the UN that deal with shipping directly and indirectly, then you realize that I don't know what I've got myself into it. I think I used to know it, but obviously it's challenging. But again, as I said, for me, it's a completion, if you like, a quite long experience on specialized trade and a specialized type of within the trade. But at the same time, I think it's a good opportunity for Cyprus to get more involved in international shipping, and shows that even the smallest state in size, when you have the infrastructure and the knowledge, the vision and the planning, which our industry has, you might be able to contribute substantially more than your actual physical size.
Well, I'm happy you mentioned the keyword vision, because Cyprus has been fortunate to have quite a few people who have a vision of where shipping should go and what role shipping should place. On that note, Thomas, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would say happy sailings.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much.
Soon.
Let me just end that with reciprocate that. You're, I think, one of the very first, what I call you guys, the representatives of the fourth power. You have always been objective, and you have always been reporting in a way that it will give us a chance to show the good things we've done, and criticizing constructively the things that our country or our industry was still missing. Please don't stop doing that.
We will continue. Thomas, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.